Good to know.
Okay.
There we go. So,
This isn't it.
well, hi everybody. I'm William Brower, and I want to thank you all for stopping by to watch this and appreciating some of the fun little stories and tidbits that we're going to be sharing tonight. With me tonight are two very close and very good friends of mine that have helped within my creative endeavors over the years. Mr. Tom Lynskey, a very, very reputable and recognized film director, producer, game developer, explorer, man of many trades, and yeah, and even more many stories.
Well, that part's true.
Amen on that one. And also Mr. Tony Scorzelli, whom we have known going back almost 30 years.
Almost 30 years now.
Yeah, and even at one point ended up being lab partners in a chemistry class. And
the great experiment that almost burned the school down.
Yes, nothing like recreating the Hindenburg. However, that is another story within itself. And Tom, you can take notes for that one because I would love to see you do a documentary on that.
Yeah, that would make it real interesting. I even discussed this a while back. I said that this would be a really good idea for a short film. He agreed.
Yeah, and then right off the bat, I'm like, you should talk to Tom.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds really exciting.
Yeah.
I'm sure it would make a great film.
Indeed, it was. It will definitely require your finesse and magic on that part. I will admit that much. So, but tonight we're gonna discuss another endeavor because this is the eve of the launch of the new book series, and
fantastic.
I know I'm so surprised. I mean, it's amazing to think that this year alone it marks 30 years since I wrote the first story.
And I remember, I can vouch for that because I remember being in high school with William, watching him actually write these stories down.
Mm-hmm. William.
Yes.
Where did the first inspiration for this series come from?
Well, that's actually a very fun story. Initially this started with me learning about my family history, and so one of the things that we do have, and I've inherited over the years, is a cabinet of antique weapons and swords and things along those lines, and nice. And so over the years, my dad had always taught me that one day these are going to be yours, but you're only the caretaker. This is going to go to the next generation as it's been, but you need to learn how to handle these properly and how they were used if you're going to take care of them. And so that's why I started to learn the basics of swordsmanship and target practice and archery and a few of the other little tidbits and such. So, and then
go
ahead.
For the viewers who are not familiar, how does that tie in with the story?
Well, that's very simple. This is a fantasy series that is actually written in the style of traditional mythology and inspired by the traditional myths of the world. So,
awesome.
You are going to see a lot of swords, maces, daggers, axes, Viking battles, sea battles, catapults, siege towers, to name the basics. And then other than that, the other half of how the story came to be, came on two levels. One was listening to the stories between my grandfather and my great uncle. My grandfather, this is on my I always differentiate between the two. On my dad's side, that's the grandfather that taught me about Titanic and helped to lead me down the path to becoming the historian. My maternal grandfather, basically, he was the one that introduced me to all the classic movies and the Universal movie monsters and things like that. And when we weren't watching those, he would share his stories about his time in World War II. And, as he had always put it, was that, since it was the time of the Depression, he had decided to enlist with his 3 close buddies. And then before they were about to be shipped out, he ended up getting sick. So he was held back for a while. And unfortunately, no problem. Unfortunately for him, all 3 of his buddies ended up being stationed on the Arizona. And then when he heard the news of the attack and everything else, he immediately vowed revenge against anybody that was Japanese. And he ended up getting sent down to Guadalcanal. And during the battle there, he ended up getting a nickname bestowed to him by his ship's captain of Trigger Happy Harry, because during his time down there, he was assigned an anti-aircraft gun. And during the course of one of the battles, they had a kamikaze try to come down on the ship. And so, he was following his trail, and he actually swung the pivot so hard on his gun that he broke the bolt. So he actually spun a full 360 and accidentally blew his own ship's smokestack off.
That would get you that name for sure.
Indeed. Yeah. Now the flip side of the coin, my great uncle was serving in the European campaign, and so whenever he came down, he always talked about his experiences with D-Day and things like that. He was a lot more reserved about his talks about it, though. So he just kind of said, well, I was sitting on the tank, and we crossed Omaha and went under fire, and we did what we could, and just kind of left it at that. So lo and behold, after he passed, he had actually bestowed upon me all of his trophies and relics from the war. And so that even included his full war record and everything else. And, that's when I found out that, not only was he involved with the Normandy invasion, but, he was at the Battle of the Bulge, and he had received the Bronze Star, and he even was wounded during the Battle of Remagen Bridge. So, wow. Yeah. And, just the way between the two of them talked about the same experience actually helped in developing the first 2 sets of the characters. And wow. So, that's, my grandfather's side, I have him as Letarian, who is extremely aggressive. He relies on his brute strength and will jump into the action and go charging head first no matter what's going on. While the flip side of the coin, and positioned directly above his kingdom, is Caravax, who is more of a strategist and extremely reserved, very quiet, relies more on tactics than strength to get the job done. So
sorry about that. It's the other computer.
That's no problem.
See, I closed it all out on the computer we're on, and I completely forgot that I have the other one open. Sorry about that.
That's all right. I mean, it's the joy of the creative lifestyle,
So how do you feel 30 years in the making? Here we are. Your book is getting published tomorrow. How do you feel?
I feel ecstatic. I mean, I was very fortunate enough to have the first sets of the books produced under a different title 10 years ago. And
I got one of those.
Yes, you do. You're one of the few to have them. So that's a nice, fun surprise.
That'll be worth something someday.
Yeah, I should have put that in my autograph to you.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, yeah, even at that point, I mean, it was fun to see the local reaction to it, and one thing that I always say when it comes to this particular series is that I consider the series to be the physical representation of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. And that's because, going back to your question, when I finally decided to sit down to write it, it was maybe about 2 weeks into my freshman year of high school. And it was my earth science class. And, the long story short, I was getting bored with the class lecture because they were talking about plate tectonics. And I had studied it over the summer because I threw it into one of my stories. So,
Okay.
So I looked over, and there was a gentleman named Rodrigo Negrera who was diagonal from because it was alphabetized. And I noticed that he was getting bored too because he was drawing skulls on his notebook. So I kind of leaned my desk over to the side, and I whispered it in his ear, and I asked if he knew how to draw a minotaur. And, he just kind of looked at me a minute and just sketched one out and handed it over. And I'm like, okay. Do you know how to draw a dragon? Done. I'm like, awesome. So I put the two pictures on the desk and then, just started outlining the concept of the story from there. And then by the time I got to the next class, I had already had about 3 pages written. And, at that point, my English teacher saw what I was working on because I wasn't paying attention to her lecture either.
We went to a very boring school.
Yeah, you can see the running formula here, right? So she made an offer that was perfect though, and that was that if I included the daily lesson within the context of writing the story, that she would allow me to do that instead of doing the classwork.
Wow.
And that was Miss Sorrell, by the way, Tony.
Yeah, I had Mr. Sorrell also.
Yep. So, now.
Well, the best way to describe Mr. Sorrell is if you ever seen the movie Full Metal Jacket, the drill sergeant in the beginning of the movie, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but picture a female version of that. That was Mr. Sorrell.
The one played by R. Lee Ermey?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, before teaching, she actually was a Marine Corps drill instructor.
Damn. Okay.
So, and she ran a very tight class. So,
cool.
Yeah. But yeah, lo and behold, though, she ended up actually granting the permission and working through the channels, and this what ended up into the school's literary magazine. And
wow.
So the next thing I know, I had classmates that were following it, and I had one buddy named Paul Valdez, who I'm still in touch with to this day. He and his garage band were so thrilled about the story and the illustrations that they actually made a whole soundtrack to the series. And they're still
cool.
They're still working on it 30 years later. So,
wow.
Yeah, so it's like I said, I mean this is literally like Campbell's theory. This is we have the mentor, we have the pairing of the goal, the path, and the journey.
That's so cool.
Thank you.
It's pretty amazing that how this thing that you started 30 years ago, it's still going today, and now it's finally going to get out there into the public eye.
It is.
It really has a life of its own.
Without a doubt, and I do have a full method to the madness on this broadcast, and it's not just to toot my horn with the last 24 hours.
All right, what's up?
Well, it's because of two things. One, I want to thank the two of you.
Oh.
I will, because of a few things. So, Tony, in your case, you were my sounding board from the very beginning of these things. And, even when we survived a fireball in chemistry class, we were still able to put something like this together. And, I mean, what can I say? I mean, it's just so funny that, thank God for social media that, we've been able to reconnect them only a few years back and pick up.
Because we had actually lost touch for a while there.
Yeah.
And we finally we got reconnected through Facebook. But it's just so amazing that, because I remember William working on these stories in class, and I never would have thought 30 years later, you'd still be working on these stories, and now they're gonna get, I mean, back then, it's like, I never would have guessed how big I never could have imagined how big this thing would have become.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's getting started out there. Now it's finally getting out there, I just wish you all the best.
Thank you. And Tom, I want to thank you as well too, because even though it was through the Titanic stuff that drew us together, and I want to go on record for this one, because I always talk about this to everybody that asks me about Titanic things. And, Tony, you're going to appreciate this as well, too. When I was doing my preparing for the 100th anniversary, and I had the Plantation Historical Society Museum actually granting me their facility and having the full exhibition of my collection, I was reaching out to anybody that was doing something similar in the creative venue. And lo and behold, I saw this behind-the-scenes video for this upcoming movie called The Last Signals. And I reached out, and I wrote them the most typical professional letter possible, including the "Dear Sir" or "Madam." I was extremely impressed with the layout of your film set. I'm a historian in South Florida, and I would like to ask if you have anything promotional-wise. I would like to share this at my exhibit. And within about a day or two later, Tom reaches out, and he's like, "Yeah, hey, hi, how you doing? Yeah, I'm Tom, and I'm the guy that did it. That's my parents' basement, and I could throw a poster together." And lo and behold, though, I mean, that was my initial foray and step into the film industry. And it landed my first on-screen credit and everything else, and over the years, we've collaborated on a few things, some that have been produced and others that are still sitting in the filing cabinet. And
that's right.
But even on top of that, though, there have been times where I would reach out and I'd be like, "Hey, listen, if I were to write a fantasy series, what would be the best way to go about doing this?" And you always were willing and patient enough to take the time to, walk me through the basics, camera angle and scene setup and things like that.
Well, it's always fun working with you. It's not a chore or anything like that when you ask for help. We're friends, so I'm always happy to do that. And your timing is pretty funny talking about Last Signals, because just before the call, when you called me to see if I could do this call, I was actually fixing up the telegraph machines from that film.
Wow, you still have them?
I have the receiver, which is the wide one with the 3 cylinders on top, and I have the transmitter, which is the one with the large horizontal cylinder and the spark gap on it, and then the telegraph key itself, because I've kept them in the basement. I got rid of everything else, but in South Carolina, a university is going to be putting on a production of Titanic the musical, and they messaged me and said, "Do you know where we can find Marconi machines?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know exactly where." So I'm going to be lending to.
Well, that's great. I mean, they should throw up a little placard at the when they go to open it, and be like, provided by Mr. Tom Lynskey, producer director of.
I think they are, but anyway, yeah, that's a couple months from now. That would be fun to go to with you if you're willing to make the drive up to South Carolina, northern South Carolina, like almost border of Tennessee.
Yeah, I definitely would love to try and check it out.
Cool.
And now I do have a fun surprise for the two of you as well too. One of the things that I've been doing, which I've learned now the hard way, and Tom, if I were wearing a hat, I would take my hat off to you because I completely appreciate being in your shoes with it. I have been reverse engineering these books into episodic television scripts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's given me the opportunity to revisit a lot of the stories that I haven't touched in many years. So, so there's avenues and episodes where it's branched away from what's coming out tomorrow and opened up some newer perspectives on some of the characters and things like that. And gentlemen, I'm very happy to say that, because of everything that you've done for me over the years between the two of you and all the inspiration I've collected from the two of you, that there are characters based off of the two of you that are in these TV scripts.
Do we get killed?
No, well, Tony does, but it's really, really in an epic way. Yeah, Tom, Tom, you're more the sometimes the occasional bearer of the bad news, but in a good way though. Yeah, you are actually you're actually the king of the largest kingdom in the story.
Oh.
And your name. Yeah, your character's name is Kefren, named from an Egyptian pharaoh.
Kefren?
Kefren, yep.
All right.
And
cool.
and visual wise, although when I had it originally illustrated, I needed to have numerous changes just for copyright purposes. But Kefren is the only character in the legend of Graham Hauteclere that is not inspired by Egyptian mythology, and he's actually inspired.
But he has a name.
Yep, because not only does he have a name, but also because of who he is actually based off of, which is the creature from the Black Lagoon, my favorite Universal monster.
Wait, is this the character I'm based off of?
Yes.
So I'm the creature from the Black Lagoon. Transitive property here.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
You have the largest kingdom in the world because it's the ocean.
I'm a sea monster.
You are, but this is where we start to have all the fun factors behind it. Okay.
Okay.
So, not time for the full nitty gritty of it. Legend of Graham Hauteclere opens with an explanation of the world of Mysidia, and initially it's a world of unity, peace, harmony. It's early Earth, Neanderthal.
Like scat.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so for people that that take on the role of the mentors, it's actually dragons. And I've based that one on more off of the Asian and Eastern philosophy. So they're the mentors, the guardians of the earth and things like that.
Yeah.
So lo and behold, though, during the course of teaching the inhabitants of this world how to have a proper society and how to flourish and all the other things.
Hold on, don't go spoiling your story here.
Oh no, I'm not going. No, don't worry. There's not going to be any.
All right.
Yeah. But it's good to have an explanation because it is such a peculiar title.
There is. Yeah, it is.
So yeah, so in the course of these lessons, the elder dragon named Clarok has a vision that warns him that everything that they are teaching these people is going to one day be used against them. You know, the people are going to rise up. There's going to be war. There's going to be conflict and things like that. So thank you. So he decides that, since there's going to be a chosen one that's actually going to unite the world in its darkest hour, and to prepare for that point in time, he has his other dragons forge the Graham Hauteclere, which is the sword of the armor that this chosen one will be able to use in that specific point in time. And lo and behold, the vision comes to be, and the world divides upon itself, and it pretty much implodes into a 10,000-year civil war.
Mm.
And, as a matter of a peace negotiation and everything else, what happens is all the kingdoms decide to build walls around each other. And, they set up all these fortifications and everything else. And pretty much, if you were to even put your foot across the other side of the wall, kind of similar to Checkpoint Charlie and things like that, it would be seen as an act of aggression. And with every right, you'd be allowed to shoot said invader. So that's pretty much where the story opens up to. So, then for your character, you are part of a race known as the Animals, playing on with the word of animals. But there are there's three kingdoms. The top kingdom is Wondrous Peak, which is the top of the world, and that's ruled by the Hawkmen, and with Caravax as their king, and he's based off of my great uncle. The middle section is the rainforest and jungle area, is the Land Dwellers, and that's run by Letarian, who is based off of my grandfather. And then we have the Sea Folk, who's based off of you.
And the creatures of the lagoon.
I am a merman.
Yes, you are a merman. And what makes things different visually, and I think you might appreciate this, if you were to visit the animal kingdoms, you go into Wondrous Peak, there's a giant mural in the throne room showing a Hawkman capturing one of the Land Dwellers as a prisoner. You go to the Land Dwellers Kingdom, and the mural is reversed. And there's a land.
Hawkman.
Yes. You come down to the Sea Folks Kingdom, and you see a mural of the world fighting amongst each other and bickering amongst each other, and the Sea Folk are looking up in embarrassment.
Cool.
Yeah.
Huh. That sounds backstory here. Who is our hero? Is it you?
Well, yeah. In this story, it's me at 16 years old.
Enough.
So, and
Okay.
he's the chosen one. His name is Philip, and he comes from a small village called Loggersby. And instead of the traditional heroic epics like Hercules and Conan and things like that, he's the exact opposite. He's the son of a magistrate. So his skill is diplomacy instead of warfare.
That's no fun.
No, it's not.
But you make it fun, I'm sure.
Oh, I do. I make it really, really snarky in a lot of ways.
Good.
So he's a good man, but he's not that great of a warrior.
Exactly. And it's going to show in the first story, because right off the bat, before even going into battle, he actually has to persuade the three Animal Kings that he's the one that's been mentioned in the prophecy, and he has to prove to them that he can do what he is supposed to do.
Okay. I'm looking forward to him trying to prove it to me.
It's a fun one. I'll tell you this much.
Yeah. It's going to be hard. I'm
Oh
going to
yeah,
take a lot of convincing.
I know you're a tough cookie to persuade.
That sounds really cool. But I assume he becomes quite a warrior as the story progresses.
Yes, he does.
You know what? You know what? It really. You know what kind of reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of Transformers the movie, the 1986 movie, where
Okay.
they had the young Hot Rod.
Yep.
After Optimus Prime gets killed, you know, Hot Rod is kind of like he's kind of brash, not that great of a warrior. He's always getting into trouble, and at the end, it's revealed that he's actually the chosen one. He opens up the Matrix and becomes the next leader of the Autobots and destroys Unicron. So that's what it sounded like to me. How this character is kind of very similar to that.
Well, I mean, I'll say this much in terms of the '80s stuff. There's only one cartoon series that has a pretty large inspiring contribution to it, but it's not Transformers though. It's Voltron.
Voltron.
Yep. Because I always liked the idea of watching the lions coming together to form the robot. And so, in this case, each of the kings hold a piece of the armor. So,
Okay.
the armor and the weapon is only as strong as it can be, but if it's unified with the rest of the world, ta-da!
Even more greater.
Exactly.
Very nice.
Now for the first villain is where I also have some fun, and I say fun because one of the things that I laugh about, kind of taking it back to the good old days, for the first four stories, those represented my 4 years in high school. Okay, and with almost not even a moment's notice, whenever the episode, I call it like that just because how it kind of played itself out when published, but the moment that something like that came out within the school's literary magazine, I was automatically called to the school psychologist office. And, it was the inevitable, let's go ahead and talk about this particular part right here and this guy right here. And, but me being both obnoxious but truthfully and honest, always handled that debate with the same question. And that was, listen, I got the idea for that character off of this particular history book, which is sitting on this shelf inside the library. I got this particular scenario off of this particular book on battles, which is sitting over on that shelf opposite right here in the library. Now, if you don't want us to read about it, why are you supplying it to the school?
There you go, that's showing.
Yeah. But I mean, it got to a point in time though where, instead of just calling him doctor or anything like that, it turned into its own little comedy routine. I'd be sitting there, he'd walk in, I'm like, "Oh, hey Bob, how was your break? Did you manage to go fishing with the wife and kids yet?" I got the same answer for you as before. It's not going to change. So,
I mean, didn't commit you.
I know. No. What can I say? Some things don't change on that part. I can still get that sharp tongue out if I have to.
Mhm. So,
Unfortunately,
William,
our administrators weren't that bright either.
That's fair.
oh, man.
But
So, William, where's this book being published?
it's going to be out through KMP Entertainment at kmpentertainment.org.
Okay, any bookstores?
Yep, it's going to be available through through the major retailers as well too, and also online. And
Like Barnes and Noble. I'm going to be able to go to the mall that is, the mall, and go to Barnes and Noble, and I'm going to see your name and your book sitting on the shelf.
Yep, yes. As we speak, my agent has been negotiating on trying to get them into the shelves. So.
Okay, maybe we can.
I'll be right back. I gotta call. Take a call real quick.
Okay,
all right, no problem.
All right.
So.
Maybe you want to cut that part out because I don't know if mentioning a company by name like that is a good idea. But my bad. Sorry about that.
That's all right. It happens.
That's cool though. If I see it on a bookshelf, I'm going to take a picture of it and send it to you. And where's the best place for me to buy it? Should I go right to the publisher's website or should I find it in a storefront?
Get it through the publishers. That'll be your best option. Because that's going to drop just after midnight if everything goes well. So.
Ooh, I'm still up. I'll get it.
Yeah. You'll be one of the first people, and then you'll have both versions.
That's so cool. That is so cool. I'm gonna have you sign it next time we see each other.
Of course. And but like I said, man, I mean, taking it to this level now, that part has all been through your advice, and through your help and your suggestions. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's why I've been just want to publicly thank you on this point because here all kidding aside, I never imagined this to take off the way that it has, and
I did. I thought it would. I knew it was great. You're an amazing writer.
Well, thank you.
And if you've had 30 years to work on something, you're damn right it's going to be good.
That's true. That's very true.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, welcome back.
But sorry, that was my mother was calling me.
No problem. Families always comes first, anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah. Now, speaking of working on it for 30 years and everything else, I'll tell you the one thing that I still find to be absolutely hysterical in a lot of ways. Obviously, my time at high school was always a bit of a challenge, and I was fortunate to have a very close circle of friends that helped me through a lot of the issues and things like that. And yeah, we did a lot of stupid things, and did our own little rebellion and stuff. So, by the time I got to senior year, I turned around and I promised them all. I was like, listen, 10 years from now when we go to the reunion, I'm going to walk in with a published book, and it's going to be everything that we've done. And I'm going to look directly at your spouses, and I'm going to be like, do you want to know what your husband or boyfriend was like? Well, here, let me show you. He's on page 4.
Oh.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty loaded.
Oh, it was. But it backfired. But it backfired, though. Not in the bad sense, okay? Went to the reunion, I brought the book, everything else, and everybody that I showed it to was like, well, yeah, I mean, you were always writing in the class. We knew this was going to happen. That's a given. Listen, about that fantasy series that you were working on, whatever happened to that one? And I was like, well, those are sitting in the filing cabinet at the house, and that's about it. Like, oh. Anything new with it? No. Any possibility? I'm like, Okay, I guess so. So that's what kind of started the reignition of the whole thing, and had to blow the dust away from the cobwebs and stuff. And
Well, your 30-year reunion is going to be coming up in a couple of years.
Yeah,
You can bring him there.
There you go.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I'm proud of you, man.
Well,
I
thank
think
you.
a lot of people.
No, so am I. So am I.
Yeah.
We're proud of you. Especially since I was there 30 years ago when you were starting this thing.
I know. Now, if I could just figure out how to do the screen share, I do want to do one other thing. Let me see how.
All right, give me a second.
No problem. So, let me take a look and see where. Here it is. Share screen.
Did they give you an actual time when these are going to go live, or is
Yeah, everything goes well. It'll be ready by tonight.
like a midnight will be available, or
Possibly, yeah.
okay.
Okay, so now that we are screen sharing,
What was the name of the company again? All right, sorry. Go ahead. Let's do this.
I just lost your picture.
I know. I'm on screen share.
Okay.
Because I want to do one thing, and cause I know since he couldn't make it initially, and I want to make sure I'm doing this the right way. This is going to be, hopefully, yeah. Here we go. Once it loads, because it's taking its sweet little time.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very vintage video from 3 years ago, and this is actually Paul Valdez talking about it while we were hanging out at his studio one night, and just one of those cases where the camera was handy, and he was just kind of tinkering around and working on some of the tracks, the soundtrack and such. And he had another colleague who was working with him. So, the long story short, I decided to hit the record button and just kind of let nature work its course.
So the whole entire time while we're in school, I'm actually watching him write this stuff. I have stuff that I'm looking with and I'm lingering with, and finally it came to a head towards the tail end. Years after we all graduated high school, he started completing the writing. He said, "Hey, I'm having the author signing party for what's going on. This is what I'm doing. Can you put this together for us?" Now, that's actually where I met vocalist Jeff. Jeff jumped on board and did the lyrics on it, and we pieced it together. And then he had his inauguration of his signing on the publication of his book for the Gospel with Dr. Jeff Singleton. It hauled ass, and amazingly, when I had Robert, when the original aspect of me, Jeff, Daniel, and Eric, when we did Dragon's Bane, from when it was recorded at the condo in Coral Springs. When I had Robert, I met you when you moved in, and then we found Brandon when we were at Tommy's, and we learned the song and we went out and we played it, and that was the carry-on of that song since then. So, here we are now.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, you realize we've been working on this thing for almost 27 years?
Sick face.
There we go. Stop the share. There we go. So,
Oh,
yeah. Hopefully, did the sound come out all right on your end?
Yeah.
we
Good.
got most of it.
Yeah. They came out fine over here. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
So
That's really cool. And that was 3 years ago, huh?
yeah. I mean, that's it's amazing what you sometimes find in a zip drive when you're looking for another manuscript.
So how many stories in this series?
There's 5 books total. So
5 books.
Yep.
And they all follow Graham?
They do. There's a couple of them that are actually companion books. So get ready for a few little side stories along the way as well too.
I'm ready.
Good.
Yeah. Do you think you'll be eventually? Do you think you can be designing a website for these?
I might.
Sure.
Yeah. I probably will within the coming week.
Maybe even a wiki page also too.
I got to figure out how to make one of those wiki things.
Yeah.
I'm still somewhat technologically challenged, so.
But if you get I'll talk to my nephew. My nephew knows some people that deal with that too. You might be able to get you somebody to start a website for this also, and you can probably even sell the books on your website too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Where did you say the website is that you can buy it at? I'm gonna open it up right now so I don't forget it. I'm gonna be your first customer.
No problem. kmpentertainment.org.
Okay. And they're real.
I certainly hope they are.
Oh, it's Michelle.
Yes.
Oh, she's publishing you.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So shop now. I will shop now. Okay. I'm going to keep an eye on this. And how much is it going to be?
That's a really good question.
You don't know?
No. I just turned in the manuscript.
Oh. Okay.
But I'm really glad that you asked me that.
It's yeah. I want to know how much I'm going to be spending tonight.
Well, I'm not one to toot my own horn, but I know that it'll be a good sound investment.
I hope so. I know it will be. I know it will be. Cool. Hardback or paperback?
Paperback.
Okay. Pictures?
Some at the beginning.
It's just I know that the artwork was always quite prevalent in the former drafts of it.
Yeah. And I know that they should be as well too. If not, I'm gonna probably display them throughout maybe online or something along those lines, because again, even though I haven't spoken with Rodrigo in almost just as long too, the fact that he had been willing enough to sit there and draw these for me, and even throughout high school, I still do remember the times, because just the way that my brain works. There were moments where I was looking to envision the epic battles and stuff like that, and he'd look at me and go, "Jesus Christ, do you expect me to draw this?" And well, I can hope so. But still, I mean, at the end of the day, I do have a few sequences that he had done that not as epic as what I was hoping for, but it's the main subject matter, so that's what mattered. So, but again, and just as you both know, anybody that helps me, I always make it a point for public recognition to the extreme. So, it's the least I could do just 30 years later.
You should look them up.
Oh, we do. We've been in communication at times, but it's just one of those things. Life change goals. So
Yeah, of course.
People change over time. That's all.
Happens.
Exactly.
Well, once again, dude, we're really proud of you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
And guys, definitely thank you for everything that you've done over the years and for helping me to get to this point. And be surprised. Don't be surprised too when you start reading. And I know, Tom. In your case, once you start reading Catherine's part, you're going to be like, oh God, yeah, this is definitely spot on.
Yeah, Merman, of course.
Yeah, precisely. And Tony the same way. I mean, in your case, I decided to take it one step more special, and I hope you appreciate it. But like I said, yeah, even though your character meets an epic death, he's a warrior who was actually trained by his father, and for all intent purposes, was following in his father's footsteps and taking that, as the passing of the torch.
Good, I like that.
So
Nice.
cool. Yeah, unfortunately, Tony's dad is no longer with us, but I have many fond memories of hanging out at Tony's apartment and always admiring his dad's motorcycle. I couldn't touch it, couldn't sit on it, but I could look at it. Just him walking in after doing a ride and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" So you staying for dinner or what? Yeah, so that's why I figure, without a doubt, that is your character in a nutshell. Just put yourself in a suit of armor and get yourself a sword, and that's it right there.
And I know about swords, So.
I know. I mean, you got the Highlander sword sitting over, above your mantle.
That's my pride and joy right there.
I know. Without a doubt.
So we've all got a sword in the room right now, I guess.
Yeah, I'm guessing so.
I got one hanging right over there.
Nice. I got mine sitting just off to my side around over here.
Yeah, I have very fond memories of back in high school. Me and William, we talk about there was a show called Highlander on back in the 90s, and we'd sit there and talk about the show, and it drove our chemistry teacher crazy. Which is one of the reasons why I think he gave us the instructions to create that fireball, but that's a story for another time.
I look forward to hearing that one.
Oh, but yeah. Have your notes ready, because
Okay.
I know without a doubt I could see it as a Tom Lynskey film.
Yeah. I haven't made a short film in a decade.
Well, this will probably entice you then.
Good. I can use some motivation.
Well, no problem. I mean, in the worst case scenario, ask Tony about his mobster family idea.
All right.
And
For another call.
Yeah.
yes, but that could be another fun motivation piece for you too, if needed.
Good.
But definitely, gentlemen, though, all kidding aside, here we are, I mean, just a few hours away and the book, the first in the series, is coming out. So all I gotta say is definitely,
Incredible.
thank you for everything.
You're absolutely welcome.
And
It's an honor.
I look forward to doing this again, with the next project. So,
Yes.
and then God willing, knock on wood, hopefully the studios are going to like the scripts once I get everything written up the rest of the way.
Yeah.
And then we'll have an even bigger reason to celebrate.
Yeah. I want to help.
My screen just went black.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there you go. Okay. All right, there you go. There. No, I lost a picture there for a minute, but I got it back.
Okay, no problem.
All right.
So, but
All right, dude. I'm going to keep an eye out.
Yeah, definitely
I'm going to
keep
keep
an eye out.
for my launch.
And get ready. Books are going to be available tomorrow. Initially, kmpentertainment.org. Tom, as always, thank you for taking the time out with your own projects to do this for me. I always
You
appreciate
got me away from you got me away from contract programming. So thank you, really.
Oh, no problem. I mean, whenever you and I chat, we always seem to start generating multiple brainstorming ideas anyways. So, it's always good to sit down once in a while and catch up on things,
Definitely.
And Tony, the same way. I mean, if you're not working Saturday, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for coffee.
I am working Saturday, but I think I'll come out early because tomorrow's gonna be a big day. I know.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
In that case, thank you for bending the rules a little bit.
Yeah.
So makes it all the more worthwhile. So, well, definitely, gentlemen. On that note, I'll let the two of you get off with the rest of the night. And ladies and gentlemen, for those watching the rebroadcast, thank you for the time. And I hope that you enjoyed some of the stories and the backstories to this. And be sure to catch my book live officially tomorrow. The Legend of Graham Hauteclere, 30 years in the making, the ultimate legend within itself. So, good night,
Right,
everybody.
good night.
Take
Good night,
care.
guys. Bye.
Bye.